ambiguous nature of language, because a premise is ambiguous and a proposition is ambiguous.
It's a big job being a lexicographer. I mean, there are so many words that have, and especially in the English language, that have come from so many different languages that you really can't be a monolinguistic person. You can't be a single language speaker when you are trying to pull apart the lexicon of the English language, because there are so many words that are borrowed or straight up stolen, that sometimes we use them and the meaning is completely opposite. And so I think it's been cause for a lot of confusion over the last 1,000 years that the English language has existed in the way that it has.
You mentioned before I got into this long tangent about synthesis, which actually is a unified whole between mutually exclusive parts. Our arguments are really built, or like you hear in philosophy, the most pervasive term, what they call it axiom. Axiom is, again, this sort of circular deferring back. An axiom is basically a statement or proposition regarded as a self-evident truth. We're not even going to get into that. But my contention here is a premise is this: a previous statement or proposition in which another is inferred. A premise as a verb, because a premise is an ambiguous word. It is a noun and a verb. The verb is a subset, or the secondary meaning, the subset. Premise as a verb is a presupposition. Presupposition and supposition is not the same. Presupposition is to state or assume beforehand. And then you have proposition now as a noun is a statement or an assertion that expresses a judgment or opinion. Proposition as a verb is a proposition. Proposition is probably we hear most pervasively, sociologically, where you hear the term he propositioned her.
Yeah, it's like a suggestion.
But it's proposition used as a verb, because proposition as a verb is a proposition. But proposition as a noun is a statement or an assertion that expresses a judgment or opinion. A premise as a noun is a previous statement or proposition in which another is inferred. But why is a premise and proposition used interchangeably as a noun? Right? This is a defect. Misconception, misperception, misapprehension, misconstrued. Lexicographers are wrong 4 times. That's how wrong they are.
Well, yeah, and it kind of calls into question maybe even a lot of the scientific method itself, right? When you're using these words to support your statements, your theses, your conclusions, and then you look back at the definitions of these words that you've used, you find that there's sometimes not a lot of substance